How's it going, guys? I'm Matt Torx, and in the last episode on my journey to play every Fallout game ever created and now rank them all on a tier list at the end of the series, we wrapped up with the last Fallout game ever made by Interplay Productions, with what is widely considered the worst game in the series, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. And shortly after the release of this game, Fallout would never be the same. In 2007, game developer Bethesda Studios decided to buy the Fallout IP from Interplay for less than $6 million. Bethesda, known at the time for their 3D role-playing games like Oblivion, decided that they would give the same treatment they gave the Elder Scrolls franchise all those years ago, and transform Fallout from a 2D overhead turn-based role-playing game to a first-person RPG with a completely new engine, graphics, gameplay, and mechanics. Now, unlike Brotherhood of Steel, the gameplay changes that Bethesda made were not actually as hated by fans at the time, as they were a lot more polished and thought out than that game. But the decisions in general that Bethesda made story and tone-wise were definitely controversial. Regardless, nowadays when most people think about Fallout, they think of this style of game, as the games developed by Bethesda managed to reach a level of popularity with casual audiences that the original games never quite could reach. And the first game ever to fall into this category was none other than the broken mess of Fallout 3. So today we are playing Fallout 3 in 2024. Now before we even get started playing Fallout 3, there's something I just need to talk about, and that is how much I struggled to get this game to even work on PC. For some unknown reason, if you install this game on modern Windows devices, there's a good chance the game is just unable to boot up, just crashing as soon as you try and make a new character. Now when I ran into this issue, I was obviously confused and pretty pissed, to say the least, as to why they would sell a game that just doesn't work. But of course it is Bethesda after all, so I wasn't too surprised. But eventually, after a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, I was able to find the issue, and that was the fact that my graphics card was actually too advanced to run the game. And every time I would boot it up, Fallout 3 would try and set its systems and graphics accordingly. Now with most games, if they're too old to run the graphics, they just set everything to either its default or as high as it can handle. But for some reason, even if Fallout 3 can't handle the graphics card, it'll still try and set itself to those specs, then crash as soon as it's loaded, since it is a game that was made in 2008 for Christ's sake. The working solution that I managed to stumble across was going into the game files and deleting these two INI files, which are basically what tell the game my specs. Then before booting up the game, downloading this Intel HD graphics bypass file by Bren7112, extracting it, taking the new INI files, and putting them in place of the old ones. How this is able to work is by basically tricking the game into thinking that I have a less powerful operating system, therefore never running into the issue in the first place. So after 4.5 hours, I was finally able to play this game. Finally actually getting into the game, we get an intro that truly returns back to its roots, showing some city rebels set to "I don't want to set the world on fire," and a narration about how war never changes, and how as most vaults open their doors sometimes after the nuclear attacks, the doors of Vault 101 in the capital wasteland of Washington, D.C. were shut, never to be opened again, and that we, the player, are a resident of that very same vault. We then get to witness our very own birth as we stare into the eyes of our loving father, Liam Neeson. Shortly after choosing my name, my mother has a damn heart attack and dies. But before I get the chance to properly mourn, the game flashes forward to 3 years later, and my dad is helping through the real-life tutorial of walking. And after figuring out my controls, since this game no longer has native controller support for some reason, we make our way to the I'm Special book, pick the following stats, and get busted by my father. We then flash into the future again for my 10th birthday party, get some random presents, spit on a sweet roll before giving it to this kid, then do some practice on a rad roach with a BB gun. Another flash happens, this time 6 years into the future, as I take a test that serves to let me pick my perks. And just for good measure, one more time, skip 3 more years into the future, where I wake up to see the daughter of the Overseer, and my friend, telling me that my dad has ran away and escaped the vault, and that the Overseer's guards were after me for some reason. Now at this point I'm pretty damned confused, but I grab a gun, kill a bunch of people that I grew up with for some reason, including the Overseer. I also learned how weird the aiming system in this game is, because for some reason instead of using the crosshair on pistols, I just bring the gun an inch closer, because that's really going to help my accuracy. Then finally I make a mad dash to escape the vault, before I get attacked by another time skip jump scare. Once outside of the vault, I find myself exploring a capital wasteland that is so green it looks like I'm playing the game with night vision goggles. Then I enter the town of Megaton, a series of stacked buildings constructed around the giant bomb. I knew that there was a way to reactivate the bomb and ignite the city in flames, so that was one of my new goals. In order to start searching for my dad, I asked people around the town, and talked to this bar owner named Moriarty. He tells me that he has info about the location of my father, but he won't give it to me without a favor, 100 caps. Now, me having about 100 less caps than required, he informs me that a girl not too far away owes him some caps that, if I recover, can be used to pay my fee. So I went to Silver and peacefully convinced her to fork over the caps. Went back to Moriarty, and he notified me that my father was heading east towards the Galaxy Radio news station, in the rubble of DC. On my way, I stumbled across a broken down elementary school of raiders, and shoot it up to get some extra loot. Next, I went to a random collection of houses being terrorized by raiders or something, before making the trek to the underground station. There I ran through the station, avoiding all the ghouls and super mutants that got in my way, emerging on the other side to a place called Chevy Chase, another collection of crumbled down buildings. It's here where I run into a couple members of the Brotherhood of Steel for the first time, since no Fallout game can seem to function without them. They carried me and provided me protection on a trip to the Galaxy News radio. But before we could get there was a gang of super mutants blocking our path. So after looting one of the dead bodies and getting myself a laser pistol, we started to mow down the green boys in true Brotherhood fashion. Now right now I was feeling confident, but all that changed when a super mutant behemoth showed up to ruin the fun. I tried to keep my distance, but the behemoth bum rushed me and sent me to my early grave. Now since I had just been rushing through the game so far, I assumed I was kind of underleveled, which would explain why the mutant killed me yet again without me being able to get a lot of damage in. But in true Fallout fashion, rather than face my enemy head on, I directed him to members of the Brotherhood expedition, and let him kill all those guys while I sat in the corner and got shots in while I could. Since this particular paladin right here was actually unkillable, she provided the perfect distraction for the Jolly Green dickwad. Afterwards I looted the behemoth corpse, as well as the Brotherhood corpses, and even got a free fat man off of one of the knights. Finally, after this big battle, we were actually able to meet Big Dog, who lets me know that he has seen my dad. Initially he wants me to do some sort of quest for the cause before he'll tell me. But after one smooth speech check, he's willing to give away that my dad was headed towards a town of scientists built on a carrier boat down the river. But since I chose to stop here, this is going to have to be the last we see of Fallout 3 for now. Now wrapping up this video with my actual thoughts in the form of pros and cons. Starting with the pros, the gameplay still holds up, since the combat and running around the capital are both still very fun. The 3D was a nice change for the series. The weapons all feel unique, the ambience in certain areas is done really well, and the capital Wasteland is actually a pretty cool destination for a Fallout game. Now for the cons, the story feels rushed, it has less variety in enemies than games before it, every color in this game is a shade of green or brown, all of the role-playing elements or unique outcomes that could happen in the first two Fallouts are missing, so it lacks variety. And as the biggest offense, it takes way too much effort to get the game to work on modern operating systems. Even though places like Steam still sell it, I like Fallout 3, but more as a rebirth of the series that paved the way for new games to come, than an actual replayable game. But even though it's not my personal favorite, I still like it and don't think it deserves quite as much hate as it gets. But as always on this series, if you want me to play any more Fallout 3, make sure to let me know down below in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe, and anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.